In this video, we're just going to work through a couple examples of graphing using key values. Remember that the steps to graphing using key values are as follows. Step 1. Identify the fundamental period. Step 2. Use the fundamental period to identify the x-coordinates of the key values. Step 3. Transform the corresponding y-coordinates. Step 4. Plot the points and sketch the graph. Example. Graph the function y equals 3 cosine of x minus pi over 4 minus 1. We will start with a quick reminder of the chart of key values for the basic cosine function. As we start to work our way through these steps, we're going to be creating another chart like this one, except specific to the function we're graphing. The argument of the cosine function is x minus pi over 4, and we will find the fundamental period by setting this equal to 0 and 2 pi. When we solve these equations, we get that the fundamental period is the interval pi over 4 to 9 pi over 4. We can now break this interval into pieces. We first find the midpoint of the interval, and then we find the midpoints of the new intervals that we just created. Remember that we can calculate the midpoint of an interval by averaging the endpoints. We now need to transform the y-coordinates. This is just a matter of substituting the values -1, 0, or 1 into the cosine function. The values we use correspond to the values in the basic cosine chart. Notice that since we're substituting this into the cosine term, we will always be multiplying by 3 and then subtracting 1. Lastly, we plot the points and then graph. We will draw in the midline because it is visually helpful. Remember that these points only give us the fundamental period, but then we can repeat the shape to get the entire graph. You will notice that in this example, our labels and graph are on top of each other in a way that isn't the most visually appealing. This happens sometimes. It's technically correct, so you can just leave it. But if you wanted to make it look nicer, here are two things that you can do. Move some of the x-axis markings above the axis. Reduce the number of x-axis markings. It is important that if you do the second one, you still maintain a consistent spacing. Here's an example of what might go wrong. The internal spacing between the key values is consistent, but the spacing outside isn't. The first two grid markings together are a distance of pi over 4, but beyond that point, two grid markings represent a distance of pi over 2. When you start dropping your x-axis markings, you need to make sure that your grid spacing remains consistent. We will do one more example. Example. Graph the function y equals -2 sine of 2x plus pi over 2 plus 2. Here's the chart of key values for the sine function. We calculate the fundamental period by setting the argument equal to 0 and 2 pi, which gives us the interval from -pi over 4 to 3 pi over 4. We now break this interval into 4 equal pieces. The midpoint of the fundamental period is pi over 4. From here, we can see that the midpoint of the new intervals are at 0 and pi over 2. We then substitute the sine function with the y-coordinates to transform them. Notice that for all of these, we will multiply by -2 and then add 2. And then we will plot the points, draw the midline, and sketch the graph. In the next video, we will go into the theory of graphing by transformations to see what's actually happening in the background.